parish issue of a small flow treatment facility that's been proposed for the Brizzy property at 102 Airport Road. Now, let me just give the board a little bit of background. Apparently, Mr. Brizzy wants to sell his property, or was considering selling his property. As part of that process, he had to undergo a dye inspection, a dye test inspection, and that's done by the Washington County Sewage Council, and it came back that he flunked it. And I guess they looked at, and I understand that Advanced Treatment Inc. is a consultant that Mr. Brizzy hired to walk through this process. They did an inspection of the soils, and apparently the multiple checklist of alternative sewage designs would not fit the property because of soil issues. And at that point in time, he's got a couple of issues. He's got to solve the sewage issue. That's got to be corrected, otherwise he could be cited, fined, occupancy permits could be revoked. And at the same time, he's got to come up and engineer a design that's acceptable to the DEP to handle sewage on his property. For years and years and years, the only thing, there are only three options that most residents had. Tap into public sewers if they were near your property, install a septic system if you perk. If it didn't perk, the secondary system was the famous sand mound system. The sand mound systems in most of the rural areas don't work either. So through research and development, I know that the DEP started approving alternative systems. Chlorinator systems, small package plant systems, small flow systems for single properties. And they said that that was acceptable. So apparently what has happened is the DEP has said to Mr. Brizzy, yes, your property needs a small flow treatment facility to solve the sewage problems. And he started the process of putting together a sewage planning module. Now, the township has a 537 plan, and that 537 plan identifies those areas that can be sewered, who will take the sewage. You know, we deal with West Elizabeth, we deal with Clairton, Peters Creek. Also those areas that are outside of any of those watersheds, such as Mingo, where we've got to put in the package plant. And then still other areas where conventional septic systems and alternative systems handle the sewage needs throughout the township. Now, the reason the township is involved in this is because under the sewage facility statute for the state of Pennsylvania, the municipality is always responsible for the flow of sewage. And the DEP will come down on the township hard if there are sewage problems, sewage issues, raw sewage flowing. In fact, we're under a consent order with Bingo Creek for that very reason. And because we are ultimately responsible for the flow of sewage, improper designs, leakage, whatever, when you're dealing with these type of individual systems, the only way we will incorporate that into our 537 plan is an agreement with the property owner that requires that that property owner comply with all the requirements of the DEP, deal with the maintenance, the design, the inspections, and hold the township harmless from any problems that could occur. Because if that system doesn't work for whatever reason, and the DEP comes after the township in turn goes after the property owner. That's just the pecking order. That's the way it works. And this is a system that is recommended and it's approved by the DEP. And I think it's probably the only system that will solve Mr. Brizzy's problem at this particular location. So what you have in these 4 different agenda items initially is the installation and maintenance agreement between Mr. Brizzy and the township. And we've gone back and forth on that, and he's indicated to my associate, Michael Crooney, that there are sections that he did not approve of, and I know they talked about it. And specifically, it's paragraph 11 of the installation and maintenance agreement. And this is a paragraph that makes the property owner responsible for this system and any malfunctions that occur, and that the property owner holds the municipality harmless from any claims, suits, legal expenses. That's standard. And all townships that approve these small flow treatment facilities have that language. In fact, just last evening at Smith Township, we had a property owner that needed this type of system, and he signed the very same agreement. This agreement has been recommended by the Washington County Sewage Facilities Cooperation. And that's the paragraph that you're gonna see in almost every township that deals with this in Washington County. I have one from South Franklin Township, same language. Smith Township, same language. And it's language that I would insist that the township have in any agreement where a small flow treatment facility is proposed. Now, we haven't, Mr. Parrish, to your questions and comments, we have nothing to do with approving this. We have nothing to do with designing it. That's all done under the auspices and direction of the DEP. And if Mr. Brizzi's engineer does something defective that harms your property, you have a claim. But once again, it's not the township. The township is just saying, yeah, we'll let that be part of our overall sewage plan to handle sewage within this township. But you, Mr. Brizzi, have to indemnify and hold us harmless. If there's a problem, you've got to solve it. And if we incur any expenses, you have to reimburse the township. If there is an interreaction between your property and Mr. Parrish's property, that's a private matter. There's nothing to do with the township. Because we're not designing it, we're not installing this.
Yeah, but you're gonna run that through a township pipeline to my property, so the township's got a hand in it.
How do you know that? Because that's the first I've heard that.
Well, just go right up and see, you know what, someone should do some real investigating here to see what's going on. And
Well, I don't think we would permit any design that runs sewage through a stormwater system. And that's a
Well,
certain.
where's the design at? Who has it?
It will run through that pipe, but it's treated
will run
effluent,
through.
it's not raw sewage. You know, the DEP takes a look at any complaints that, as part of the planning module. So the DEP will get a copy of what you sent in, they'll also get a copy of Mr. Brizzi's response to it, and they're gonna evaluate, they're gonna look at it and say, is this okay, is this not okay, according to DEP? Is it gonna be better that something's done with the sewage, or that there's treated effluent? And according to the design mandates of the DEP, all treated effluent ends up going into a water body, a
Not
Commonwealth
sewage,
of
not
Pennsylvania.
sewage, it's not
Well, you
sewage.
know, there's two houses on that property, you tell me the soil's all right for one and not for the other?
Can I make a comment?
Sure.
Alright, so, first of all, I have the property at 102, I have a leach field that's at the end of its life, right? And so it needs replaced, and I'm fine with that. And I'm being responsible about making sure that we do something else, right? So, I've worked with the SEO, right? And the SEO told me to bring in a soil scientist, which I did, right, I'm a soil scientist. And then I was told to bring in a design engineer to design a system, right? So first of all, nothing with my system has to do with perking, right? So your comment about perking, nothing has to do with perking. It's all about the slope of my land. So I've had a septic system in there for 40 years that's been fine, but now the slope of my land being it's more than 12 degrees, according to the SEO, being it's more than 12 degrees, I now have to put in a small flow treatment facility. Now, if you go around the area, most of this land that I look at, these houses